Stand by, it's the science of stupid. Warning, the stunts you are about to see are dangerous. Attempting to recreate them could result in broken bones, torn muscles, and red faces. Yes, this is the show that combines science and stupidity. Over the next half hour, we'll witness the daring exploits of some of science's least fortunate guinea pigs. We'll explain what went wrong and why by exploring the scientific principles behind fluid dynamics, flammability, the vestibular system, and our old friend friction. Science is an unforgiving mistress.
Are you kidding me?
Treat her with respect, or it'll all end in tears. So don't try any of this at home, or anywhere else for that matter. Watch out! It's the science of stupid. On this show, we'll see what happens when centripetal force meets an external force. The consequences of mocking gravity. And the effects of inertia. It's smashing. But first, this. Gymnastics can be dangerous. That's why people do it inside with lots of lovely safety mats. Well, that's what I thought until I saw this. Yes, parkour is the art of running around an urban landscape and can be particularly hazardous where height is involved. Somersaults, backflips, spinny things, and one of my personal favourites, the cat leap. A technique for jumping across a gap to a vertical surface and pulling yourself up by your hands. It is actually inspired by the way a cat can jump, but not by the way it can fall. Okay, folks, remember, cats supposedly have 9 lives. Humans only have 1. To get it right, the technique of the parkour expert needs to be spot on, and here's some science to show how. To get maximum velocity on takeoff, he throws his arms forwards in a swinging movement on the jump. This creates additional downward force on the hip joint, giving over 20% more distance. But the real skill is in the landing. He swings his legs around to cushion the force of hitting the wall. His tendons act like springs, absorbing the shock of impact to prevent hitting the wall with too much force to hold on. But these urban athletes must first remember to get their takeoff right. Using the correct technique, the maximum pushing force of a jump at takeoff is over 750 pounds, enough to get a grizzly bear off the ground. Imagine what that would do to a cat. Let's see those guns in action then, fella. Yeah, nice arm work, but for big jumps he'll need a run-up to boost his velocity before his arms add that extra 20% distance. He's got it. He hasn't. But it's pointless knowing how to take off without knowing how to use those spring-like legs to land properly. It's all about timing.
Yeah, Casper, go!
Oh. Just ask Casper. Casper brought his feet up too late, preventing his legs from acting like springs and absorbing the impact, meaning he hits the wall with too much force and falls like a ton of bricks.
Yeah!
Don't worry, he's fine. So he wants to bring his feet up nice and early, right? Not quite. He brings his legs up too early, and the absorbed energy released from those spring-like muscles simply bounces him off the wall like a tennis ball. After the theory, all it takes is practice. And a lot of blood, sweat and tears. But mainly blood. And when it's finally nailed, a good exit strategy is vital. Actually, the only real danger of being towed through the water by a boat is that sooner or later you might get a bit wet. But that's half the fun. So where's the harm? Well, it's there. There. And there. Well, aside from using your eyes and looking where you're going, there is a little scientific know-how on towing that might save you losing control of your mates and mashing them into a pulp. Here it is. When a boat towing an object turns, the object turns too, due to centripetal force created by the tension in the tow rope. The object being towed has to travel further than the boat within the same time, and so will travel faster than the boat. During a 360-degree turn, the force of the whip is so large it can actually triple the speed of the object compared to the boat. If that boat is travelling at 20 miles per hour, these chaps could be doing up to 60. Here's a wakeboarder enjoying centripetal force. Remember, as you get towed around corners, you're likely to be going a lot faster. At this point, the only thing likely to stop you is an external force. From something like a bridge. Now, let's see how those forces work on dry land. Much the same way. With much the same results. OK, so what science is trying to tell us is to take it easy on your corners and only hammer it on the straights. Yeah, but it's not quite as simple as that. When the thing you're being towed about on is a large inflatable object, like a tube, you can encounter another problem: taking off. Great at taking off, rubbish at actually flying. Remember that. Well, you probably will. Tubes have similar aerodynamics to airplane wings, with curved edges and a flattish profile. So when the underside of the tube lifts up, the air hitting it creates pressure, pushing it further upwards. An airplane has wings to keep it stable in the air. An inflatable tube does not. So next time someone offers you a tow about in the water, remember that things could get fast. You might even fly, which is fun, if you're partial to a bit of whiplash. Can you guess what scientific law these sporty youths are about to demonstrate? Did you guess the scientific law we're about to see? It's Newton's third law. With every force, there's an equal but opposite force. The harder you hit a car, the harder it hits you. Can you guess what the most dangerous consumer product in the United States is? No? Here's a clue. It's quads. In the right place and with proper skills and experience, all-terrain vehicles are designed to give maximum fun, yet tend to be a bit unstable for performing stunts. A quad's centre of gravity is very high relative to its narrow wheelbase. This means that when performing manoeuvres, the centre of gravity has a greater tendency to move outside of the wheelbase and the quad can tip over. Quads often have ultra-springy suspension and typically inadequate shock absorption for big jumps, meaning that when they land, the springs release all the energy absorbed in the impact, causing them to buck. But first things first, let's get to grips with that dodgy centre of gravity. Use your body weight to correct the centre of gravity. Not like that. When cornering, shift your weight forwards and into the turn. Side saddle doesn't work, and let's face it, it is a bit uncomfortable. And what's really uncomfortable is a 450-pound quad piling into you at 25 miles an hour. What about going uphill? Is that an issue? Yes. At least it's never wise to attack too steep a hill. A standard quad is designed to handle uphill slopes of 45 degrees without a driver. The problem is, if you actually want to sit on your quad, then you're raising your centre of gravity to a precarious level. There's the proof. And that's confirmation. On an uphill gradient, keep your weight forward to keep that centre of gravity within the wheelbase. But not too close to the wheelbase. Right, so now you know why having a high centre of gravity can be a problem. So you might want to think carefully before attempting a jump.
No, oh my God, he's gonna crash!
Hey, that's a plot spoiler. Okay, you don't need science to tell you that you shouldn't jump into a cliff. But there is somewhere science can help. Remember what I said about springy suspension? Well, there you go. When jumping, you need to stand up to use your legs like shock absorbers, as well as adjusting the centre of gravity by keeping your body weight back. I said back. And do watch out for the wall. Now for the ultimate battle between man and beast. Saddle up, partners. It's rodeo. The idea is to ride a bucking horse or bull for at least 8 seconds, holding on with just one hand. It is easier said than done, as animals like these can be dangerously unpredictable. It's not just about holding on. There is a bit of science too. So, listen up, y'all. Hearts. When a rodeo bull or horse bucks, the rider's body is subjected to tremendous force. For a bareback rider, this could mean accelerations of up to 46 Gs, 5 times that of a jet pilot in training. When the animal stops or changes direction, the rider's inertia keeps them travelling in the original direction, which can throw them off. Professional rodeo riders overcome the effects of inertia by using their centre of mass to counteract the bucking forces acting on them, pushing their body backwards when the animal kicks back and forwards when it rears up. But even for pros, this is no mean feat. If you're looking for a demonstration of the science, everything's happening a bit fast with a pro rider. But with the aid of some intrepid amateurs and the mechanical bull, we can see the effects of inertia in a more controlled environment. Here's test subject 1. Are you ready? Good. Okay, if you're sure. Let's break that down. Here's the kicking force. Here's the change of direction. Here's inertia keeping her moving forwards. And here's the nose job. Inertia isn't a force. In fact, it's a property that's present in everything and everyone, including him. And her. And him. Oh, a somersault. Well done. This lady is about to demonstrate the relationship between inertia and mass. It's proportional. So once the bull gets her moving, it's almost impossible for her to stop. So what have we learned? Well, riding rodeo will subject you to the meaner side of inertia. Fail to use your body mass to counteract this, and you're going to wind up eating dirt. Tasty. I've always dreamt of having special powers, like a superhero. So when I heard about Batmaning, I thought, this is going to be exciting. I was wrong. It's not. It's basically hanging about by your feet. Okay, so it's not exciting when it's done right.
Right, I'm so disappointed that I've missed out on planking that I'm going to give Batmaning a go, just for you, Natalie.
Look away, Natalie. I've got a feeling he hasn't considered the gravity of the situation. Do you think that's Natalie? Let's hope her first aid skills are up to scratch. Batmaning can look boring, but in the wrong place can be incredibly hazardous. So at least pay attention to the science. Batmaning relies on keeping the ankles tensed as tightly as possible and adhering to the principles of leverage. Feet balanced on the door edge are effectively a lever on a pivot. Leverage dictates that the greater the distance between the pivot point and the force applied to the lever, the less force it takes to turn that lever. For Batmaning, that means ankles are as close to the door as possible. Double the distance from ankles to door edge, and it's double the tendency to rotate and fall off. Batmaning. If you want my opinion, don't bother. It's just plain silly. But in the world of science, we would know nothing without the work of our great pioneers. And here they are. Remember, it's all about keeping those ankles tense and the principles of leverage. Her ankles may be weak, but at least she now has the unique ability to look directly behind herself. Full marks here for getting the technique right. But she does have to maintain it.
Oh my gosh!
Remember, one's up, keeping those ankles tense is pivotal. This qualifies as a wild night out in Lapland. 2 problems here. Balancing on the toes combined with consumption of mince pies equals too much force on the ankles. Riding a motorbike safely is important, if you're riding a motorbike. And if you are, you need the right equipment and training. So motorbike jumps seem like sheer madness, but they do say insanity is close to genius. So perhaps we shouldn't be too judgmental. Or perhaps we should. There are some common sense rules. A bike that actually fits. A regularly maintained bike. And no performing stunts in a forest. But there's also some science. So what do you need to perform the perfect jump? 2 wheels, a big motor, and very little common sense? Well, there's more to it than that. It's all about speed and angles. The first thing you'll need is adequate speed. Speed equals distance over time, so the further you jump, the more speed you'll need to achieve it. The next ingredient is the angle of launch. Adjust the takeoff angle to determine the desired trajectory. Balancing time in the air created by height and forward movement gives the right direction. They say the road to success is paved with failures. And that's just as well because we've got plenty. Okay, so first things first. Getting up to an adequate speed. That was inadequate. For maximum speed, open up that throttle. Especially if you're an adult on a child's bike. Once he's up to speed and wants to do some tricks, a really steep angle directs his velocity skywards. And what goes up Oh, nice recovery. How many degrees is that? Who knows? But letting go isn't always the answer if you're not sure. And of course, angle of landing is just as important as angle of takeoff. To minimize impact, the difference between your angle of descent, this, and the angle of landing surface must be as low as possible, just like that. But not that. Nor that. Had he landed with his bike, all the reactionary force from the ramp would have been concentrated on just the back wheel, which could have meant an even more painful landing. And whatever happens, it's best to land on something forgiving. Like a friend. That's about as much senseless violence as I can take for now. They do say no pain, no gain, and I hope you've gained some scientific take-home from this. To skip on the pain, just refrain from repeating anything you've just seen. I mean, anything, literally, at all.